Fox News alert, we just bombed Iran. CENTCOM launching airstrikes hitting multiple ports along the Strait of Hormuz. Senior U.S. officials saying this is not a restart of the war or an end to the ceasefire. It all started this afternoon when Iranian attack boats from the Mosquito fleet swarmed toward 3 guided missile destroyers in the Gulf. The USS Truxtun, the USS Rafael Peralta, and the USS Mason defended themselves, keeping them at bay with 50 caliber machine guns, small caliber gun teams on deck, and Hellfire missiles fired from Apaches. Iranian forces also launched drones and missiles from the shoreline. This was a pretty intense and sustained barrage, so the United States responded forcefully, launching airstrikes, targeting Iranian missile facilities responsible for the attack, hitting missile and drone launch sites, command and control locations, and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance nodes. Central Command said the Iranian attacks were unprovoked, and we responded in self-defense, adding that not a single American ship was hit. Central Command says we don't seek escalation, but we remain positioned and ready to protect American forces. ABC asked the president if the ceasefire was over, and he said, no, ceasefire's still on. It's just a love tap. The president later writing on Truth Social that the Iranian small boats were completely destroyed, Iranian missiles were easily knocked down, and drones were incinerated while in the air, and they dropped ever so beautifully down to the ocean, very much like a butterfly dropping to its grave. The Iranians claim it was tit for tat. Yesterday, an F-18 Super Hornet lit up an Iranian tanker with machine gun fire when it tried running the blockade and turned it around back to port. The president says the 3 destroyers successfully transited out of the strait and will join the blockade. And the Wall Street Journal's reporting that Project Freedom is still in play. It was paused for diplomatic reasons, to help with the Iranian negotiations, and because of an airspace dispute with the Saudis. But it's all patched up. And the French and British navies are apparently on their way to help with escort duty when needed. The president said earlier today a normal country would let boats sail peacefully through the strait. But Iran's not a normal country. Some of these Persian pirates are still trying to charge tolls. They're screaming into loudspeakers at tanker traffic, pay up or we'll shoot. The Iranians even clipped a Chinese vessel in the strait this week. With friends like these, I don't know. Some ships are just going dark or flipping their flags and sailing through anyway because it's gotten ridiculous. The administration's going to take the Iranian hostage crisis in the strait to the UN and put the Russians and Chinese on blast.
This should be a simple demand: the removal of mines from an international waterway. You cannot exact illegal tolls. We have to address these violations here in the Council. And we have to ask ourselves, if a country chooses to oppose such a simple proposition, do they really want peace?
The president says they're a bunch of lunatics. That's why they can't have a nuclear weapon. And if they don't sign the deal fast, the War Department's going to be a lot more violent.
There are 2 options for the Iranian regime. They can choose the pen or they can choose the sword. One would include them signing a good faith agreement that would lead into more detailed negotiations, and the other would be the Americans resuming their bombing campaign against the Islamic Republic.
Today, the Iranian president, for the first time, met with the gay Ayatollah in his little cave. The meeting lasted over 2.5 hours. It's hard to talk without lips. The key sticking point to the deal is that Trump's driving a really hard bargain. The president's demanding that the regime hand over their entire Uranian stockpile, close up all their nuke facilities, and don't enrich, not even a little, for decades. Iran, and this is according to the New York Times, is countering that they'd like to give the uranium to a third party, potentially Russia, and they want an enrichment freeze for 10 to 15 years. But Iran's on a deadline, and they know it.
It looks like they've likely already cut back their production, maybe by 400,000 barrels a day. They'll likely continue to ramp down their production as their storage fills and their inability to export oil.
If their oil wells pop, the country's ripe for a revolution. The regime's already getting antsy. They've been going on a protester execution spree. Brent crude dropped below $100 a barrel for the first time in 2 weeks today. And corporate America just had its best earnings season in 20 years. Gas prices are high, no doubt about that. But many people believe it's worth it to get a good deal. A Harvard-Harris poll has 2/3 of voters saying the president shouldn't settle for less at the negotiating table. Over half of Democrats agree. And the president's hold on the party, still rock solid.
Donald John Trump. He absolutely still has the juice, and when you're a Republican and you go against Trump, you get voted off the island. I always love Survivor, and in this particular case, what we saw in Indiana was you go adios amigos, goodbye, see you later. And to me, that is emblematic of what we see nationwide with Republicans. I think there's this myth that's going on right now that, oh, Trump is really losing support among Republicans, but compared to other midterm cycles, he's just as popular with Republicans as he has ever been.
You know who else is getting pretty popular? Marco Rubio. His stock's on the rise, so he's been dispatched to the Vatican to make peace with the Pope.
It has the seal of the State Department, so what to get someone who has everything.
The Pope doesn't have everything. He doesn't have world peace. And getting the dust out of the gay Ayatollah's filthy hands is a big step in that direction.